Hello, welcome to another interview with Something Awful Survivor Let's Play. We have our fourth jury member, Haschel. Haschel, thank you so much for joining us today. Night.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Haschel Cedricson, and this is my Ponderosa.
Yeah, well, I'm sad that you had to go out. You were very entertaining for me to watch. So thank you, and I am really excited to talk to you about this because I feel like you probably have some unique insights into this that are probably different from almost everybody else here. So
Oh,
I'm
oh
really
yeah,
ex-
I got opinions.
yeah, well, I'm excited to. We're definitely going to talk about them. So, I guess sort of my first question is did this. I know that you've played a lot of these types of games on Mafia Scum before. Do you feel like that experience, all that game experience, like hindered you, or do you feel like it helped you?
Oh, it definitely helped. Um, the number one thing about these games is here they're called forum reality games, right? The FRG tag. And I know other communities call them ORGs, online reality games. The Mafia Scum term, we call them LSGs for large social game. And the reason for that is, people sign up and they think, "Oh, I'm gonna puppet master my way to the end," or "Oh, I'm just gonna win challenges and make my way to the end." But no, it's a social game, and you have to be social. So if you look at a lot of the earlier boots, old school, Dan, um, not so much El Generico, but definitely Brave Little Toaster. Those were people that weren't playing the social game. And it's very hard to make it to merge if you're not making personal connections with people.
Yeah, I agree that I don't know if you know, but I won the last season that they did the Mafia versus Town, and it was very much off of the strength of a social game that I got there. So I 100% agree with you there.
Because like my very first game was actually probably a decade ago, and then I didn't play again for probably 6 years, right? And my first game back, that first game I mentioned was like the first anonymous forum game on Mafia Scum.
Hmm.
And then when I came back, there was an actual meta, and people were smart about playing. And I got my dick kicked in because I wasn't ready for um, the social part of it. I thought it was still like the old days where no one took it seriously, and oh, you like the Batman cartoons? I like the Batman cartoons. Let's have a Final Two deal. That's hyperbole, but not by much.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's definitely one of my goals coming into here was to be social, meet people. Um, I do know that Something Awful Survivor has a sub community around it. People had played before. Even people who hadn't played before had reputations. The LP crew got that became a major storyline in the season. And I knew coming in here, like I'm not a high profile goon. I'm famous for unfunny Simpson memes and the awful Christmas carols every year, and that's about it. So I knew that I wouldn't be able to lean on pre-existing stuff. And so that's kind of how I set up the start of my game.
did you know anybody that played? Like, did you have a passing connection with anybody, or were like, oh, I remember that person's name?
Bunny of Doom. Um, we played in a game in GBS in 2009.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we were both a lot younger, obviously. We were both a lot more immature. There was a lot of drama in the game because it was basically like, imagine Risk and Civilization got in a teleporter accident,
Oh, wow.
and then like all of the diplomacy was in an IRC channel. You can imagine the potential for drama here.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
And so when I saw bunnies on my tribe, it's like, well, either this is a connection that will work for me, or he still might hate me a decade later, and I don't know which one it's gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, it was the former, but it
Um,
could have gone the other way.
yeah. So, kind of, let's talk about kind of slow beef, week one. Um, Good lord, man, bringing up that picture light just throws a lot of light on my face. Anyways, so you you were in. Let's see here. You were in Arrow the Acrobat with Bunny, Chrism, yourself, Spokes, and Merc. Like, what were your feelings on that group, and like, how did that group come together? And then, kind of like, what were how did like was that a real thing for you, or was that just like, hey, we're all the ones that are talking? Like, kind of what happened on that first week?
Well, that was all Merc. Um, and I talked about this a bit in my confessional. My approach to this game, and really every game I play, like I said, is when you start, you get to know everybody, you get a sense of who do I. It the early game isn't about who do I want to get rid of. It's about who do I want to keep.
Hmm.
And so, because of that, it's like you're not going to answer that question 100% in the first 4 hours of the game. And Merc was like, "Hey, I like you. I like Chrism. Let's make a group chat with these people who are active, and then we'll run everything." And in my head, I'm like, "Slow your roll. This is way too fast." But I tell him, "Oh yeah, sure, that sounds great." Because another rule of this game is if somebody asks you to be in an alliance, you say
Say
yes.
yes. Yeah. I see you are a Rob Has a Podcast fan too.
Um, I've listened to it a little bit, and I do have some friends that are regulars in that community.
Okay, yeah, because that's one thing that Rob always talks about is like in Big Brother and Survivor, when people are like, do you want to work together? The answer is always, yes, I do. So
Yeah.
I'm a believer. I'm a believer of that as well.
Right. And so the way that formed was I always knew that was an alliance of convenience. It was never going to be a long-term thing. And so I kind of played that accordingly. The other group,
I'm I'm sorry, Haschel. Give me like 2 seconds. My cat is gonna sit here and meow until I feed him. I apologize.
not a problem.
I'll put some like funny little Simpsons something over this part. I'll be right back. Sorry.
The technical difficulties,
Okay. Sorry about that.
not a problem.
Okay, so you were saying that that the first group, that the Era the Acrobat was sort of like a group of convenience.
Yes. And so within that, what was the next one I joined? Ace Combat?
Um, so it looks like that you were in Ace Combat, which I actually think was the first group. That was Chrism, you, Spokes, and Merc. And then I
Okay.
think Arrow the Acrobat was to bring Bunny in so that you had an alliance of five.
Yeah, okay, that sounds about right. Yeah,
And then there was American McGee's Alice, which was you, Spokes, and Merc.
Okay, yes, that's what I want to talk about.
Okay,
And
that's fine.
first off, the Ace Combat into Arrow the Acrobat. If you're gonna make a group of 5, make a group of 5. Don't make a 4 and then a 1, because then you risk the one guy finding out he's at the bottom. And luckily that didn't happen here, but that easily could have blown up. And I definitely would have steered it towards Merc if that had happened.
Mm-hmm.
But so we've got this group of 5. It's a group of convenience. And so because of that, I really wanted to make sure that when this group of 5 implodes, which I know it will, I want to be in the half that walks away controlling things within the group.
Smart.
And so that's why I wanted to get me, Merc, and Spokes on the same page. Chrism was... They were kind of detached from the game. I didn't get a sense that they were going to be a big strategic partner for me in a way that would have meshed with me.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bunny, because he was the 5th person added, I figured if I propose Bunny as being in this group, people will think, oh, maybe their connection from 2009 is even deeper. So I was happy to get the American McGee that we got.
Do you think that people knew about that connection that you and Bunny had?
I mentioned it to people.
Okay.
I downplayed it, obviously.
Okay.
Like, oh yeah, I barely remember him. No, I remember him very well.
Yeah.
Because there's some things you can hide, some things you can lie about. If another person is involved, unless I tell Bunny, hey, this is what I'm telling people about us. For all I know, he's already mentioned it to people. So it's like, I'm not going to do anything stupid trying to cover up something that doesn't need to be covered up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that makes total sense to me. So we had the first immunity challenge, which was the Kong's challenge. How did you feel about that challenge?
In what sense?
Well, I mean, both sides had people that withheld Kongs. Like, do you think that?
So we're talking in terms of gameplay instead of game design.
I mean, if you want to talk about both, that's fine.
Well, okay. I don't want to attack game design too much, because I consider myself more of a moderator than a player, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you'll watch the videos that I linked to you, and the one of the games I just ran got Mafia Scum Large Social Game of the Year. So I feel justified in having some of the opinions I have.
Yeah. I will say, just if it makes you feel better, I thought the Kong game on paper was awesome because I love the Genius, and in the TV show The Genius, the Kong challenge was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I think in this, I think that the Kong challenge may have worked better at the merge.
Yeah, or the biggest problem with it was there was the potential for drama, which would have been great. Like, oh, one person caused our team to lose. But in the end, what we got was the random number generator caused our team to lose. And from a design standpoint, you always want the players to feel like they had control over what happened.
I could see that.
So I think I don't know if I mentioned this in my confessional or while bitching to another player. What I would have done for a tiebreaker was, first tiebreaker, do the same thing that Cena did. Everyone gets 5 more Kongs. Then, if it's still a tie, start throwing in some reward items. Like, you will get an extra vote if you withhold. Whoever holds the most Kongs will get an extra vote in addition to the idle clue. Or,
Mm-hmm.
just sweeten the pot a little. And eventually, it's going to get to the point where it's so tempting somebody is going to take it.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
So, anyway, as far as the gameplay itself, I don't know who held out, and honestly, it doesn't matter. One of the other things about the Kong game being first is usually, not always, but usually, everybody has a good feeling about who is going home before the first challenge starts.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of that, like, I considered holding out because I didn't think there was a realistic chance of me going home. So
Right.
in that sense, it was interesting to have the placement where it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess that's a good point. I felt like for you guys, old school was a very easy first boot, no low drama, low effort.
Yes,
So
very much so.
yeah, I guess I hadn't thought about it from that perspective, but yeah, I can definitely see, like, hey, I'm in this group of 5. I've got a 3 in the 5. Like, I feel like, probably if push comes to shove, my name's not getting written down. So I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, I definitely can see that meant that, like, why you might have withheld your Kongs then. Did you consider it, or were you just like,
Oh, I absolutely considered it.
mm-hmm.
In the end, I decided it would be better to have more time to connect with everybody, because it's nice having an easy vote on deck, but once you actually go to tribal council, you have to get rid of that easy vote. And so, if you'd better have another easy vote in the wings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I understand. So I don't really want to like hash out the first vote because that one was pretty straightforward with you guys just voting off
Yeah.
old school. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You were the caller for code names, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So, and I know that in general there was some like that the code names there was some drama with the code names, but I personally thought you did a fantastic job doing the calling. How did you feel that code names went like as a tribe? Like do you think there was anything that could have been done differently in round 1 or round 3 to get you guys the win at the end?
I've replayed that challenge a lot. Like, could I have given better clues? Should I have given them in a different order? What else could I have done? And honestly, my conclusion was not much. Like, the other team did fantastic. Like, it's easy to say, oh, they had a trio of 3 animals, but we had easy trios as well, and just because they weren't as super obvious as animals doesn't make them any less easy,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not gonna bitch there. Like, to their credit, they got all of their stuff right. I think they had 1 misfire, and it hit a neutral word.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that could have won it for us was, I think, slowing down on the Bravissimo clue. If I had meant opera and conductor, there are better clues I could have given for that. And so if they had slowed down and thought, why is he specifically using Bravissimo to connect to these words, I think they would have talked themselves out of it.
Do you remember what the words were that you were connecting with Bravissimo? Because I remember at the time, for the most part, I was able to like figure out, because I was playing along at home, and when it came to Bravissimo, I was like,
Opera and well. Because you do well, and people say, Bravissimo, you did good.
okay, okay, I can see that because I think that they got opera.
They
If I
did get
remember,
opera.
if I remember correctly, yeah, they got opera, and then I think they went with. I think you said it. They went with conductor, right?
Conductor, which was a clue for the other tribe.
Oh yes, that's right. That's right.
And then, yeah, round 3, like, on paper, if anybody looks at that round, they'll be like, what the fuck is Haschel doing here? Because of the scoring system, it wasn't enough to win. I had to win by 3, and that meant go big or go home.
Mm-hmm.
And we went home, which that happens.
Yeah, I really liked your Mecha Godzilla clue.
Oh God, I was so smug when I thought of
Oh,
that.
I don't blame you because I think that if I remember correctly, it was like that was like a 4-pointer, wasn't it?
Yeah, 4 or 5.
4 or 5, yeah,
I think I said 4, but there were 5 I thought it could have hit.
yeah. I thought that was a fantastic clue. Like when you said that, I was like, I was looking at the board and I was like, that one, that one, that one, and that one. I was like, good clue, good clue.
Yeah, Codenames, that was a fun challenge.
Sadly,
Yeah.
sadly, on my season, the other tribe was throwing code names. So
Oh,
yeah, it was my first time playing, and I was really excited to play. And the other tribe just threw the whole time. It's
I'm gonna link you to one of the forum games that I ran.
uh
Um, First off, don't judge me because we do theme games, right?
yeah.
And my thought before designing this game was, I really want one of my friends to co-mod with me. What is the stupidest thing I can think of that they will still be on board for?
I'm actually probably going to come over to Mafia Scum and at least like try to play a game over there.
You should.
Yeah,
Um,
I love these FRGs. I think they're incredible. So yeah, I would like to come over and play with some anonymity.
yeah, I don't know what the next one is. I'm currently running Survivor of the Fittest, our animal themed one.
Mm-hmm.
We just had our last juror vote tonight, and we're doing our big reveal on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
But so here we did the Codenames challenge, but with pictures instead of words,
Mm-hmm.
and it worked out really well. It's a good Survivor challenge.
Yeah.
And as for being the caller, um, that was something I fought hard to get because Chrism wanted to do it too,
Mm-hmm.
and no no shade to them, but I consider myself a good Codenames player,
Mm-hmm.
and that was definitely something that I wanted to be the one given the clues.
Yeah. I totally can. I totally can understand that. Yeah, I totally, because when I've had to call for code names, oh my god, this cat. I'll be right back. Sorry. So he only drinks running water. Like, he does not drink water that's in a bowl. So his preferred place to drink is from the sink. And we bought a fountain bowl, put it right next to the sink. He refuses to drink from the fountain bowl, and then will just meow at us until we turn the sink on for him. So
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, he's fun. Okay, so we were talking about code names, and then you said
Yeah.
that it was that you were really trying to make sure that you were the caller for code names.
hmm And this was another thing that when we lost, I knew some people would be like, "Oh, like let's vote out Haschel because he lost the challenge, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And there are always people who think like that, and they are always wrong. Losing one challenge earlier in the game isn't. First off, it's not indicative of anything. Second, if you're thinking in terms of this guy lost us a challenge, let's vote him out, that means you're not approaching the game in a strategic way. You're looking at who you want to go instead of who you want to stay.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this group of 5. I had my sub 3 behind it. I felt good. I knew there wasn't a serious risk at drawing a target to myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I totally can see that, and um, yeah, I mean, I feel like volunteering to be the caller is not the worst thing when you have a majority alliance behind you. You have a 3 in that 5.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, you had some people that probably were higher on the list than you were. So yeah, I don't blame you for putting yourself out there like that.
Yeah, no regrets whatsoever there.
Yeah.
And
Um. Oh, go
then
ahead.
tribal council, Dan went home, basically self-medevaced.
Right.
Um, on the surface, it was 100% a completely boring tribal council. And that's true for 95%, 99% of it.
Mm-hmm.
One thing it did that was very important was that was around I figured out what Blaziken was all about. Because she was like, well, I'll be honest, I don't know who I'm voting for. Like, I know some people want Dan, but like, you did drop the challenge. Like, I am undecided, and for, first was like, you shouldn't be undecided. You should be voting Dan. But the fact that she told me that kind of told me this is the kind of player I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got the sense Blaziken is not going to be doing wacky blindsides or anything like that. And yeah, that kind of got me more comfortable with Blaziken.
Yeah,
So
I really enjoyed my conversation with Blaziken. Like, I no shade on Blaziken, but they were very like tuned into the game, and that was not from like my perspective. I wasn't really expecting that. Sorry, Blaziken, but yeah, our conversation was really fun. I really enjoyed our conversation a lot.
yeah, Blaziken was fantastic as a person. As a player, very frustrating to deal with sometimes.
Hmm.
Um, because even if even if she saw things in the game, she was always a little too passive to act on them for the most part.
Hmm.
Uh, at least that was the impression I got.
Yeah. Um.
Uh,
Go ahead. Sorry.
Drake strikes me the same way. Uh,
Hmm.
Drake Drake found something good for her, and I suspect she's just writing that until it won't go forward anymore.
Hmm.
Now we'll see if I'm right, and obviously you can't tell me.
Yeah. So we had Predator Prey, and I felt like that the Predator Prey was largely uneventful, but the tribe swap. I mean, unless I'm wrong, but I felt it was pretty. I felt there was some funny things that happened, but as far as like the game itself, I felt like that it was pretty straightforward.
Well, okay. And apologies to John Cena, because I'm about to bitch again about game design. This was a horrible challenge in terms of how it was ran and when it was ran. This food chain is a challenge for the merge, when you can actually have multiple people win immunities.
Mm-hmm.
The way it was ran here, you not only had to win as your animal, but you had to win on get bonus points for surviving to the round, surviving till the end, or for moving to locations. And getting those points for a lot of the animals was directly contradictory to winning their animal condition in the first place. Like, if you're the plover or the rat, your job is to get eaten by your prey animals so that they don't starve. And so the rules as they were set up was basically a giant fuck you to a lot of animals that realistically never had a chance of winning.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, there were the rule where you couldn't claim your animal or fake claim what animal you were.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you mentioned the Genius. You've seen the Genius. You know what the Genius is all about. The whole game is like bluffing with people and trying to figure out who is who. And between that, the incredibly short times in each room, yeah, I was not happy at all with that design decision.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand from the time perspective. I will say, from the back end perspective, there was a lot going on, so it was we were trying not to make that game last like 4 hours, but
Oh, I get that. I'm just saying more than like 5 minutes would have been nice.
yeah.
And then the placement of like when you're designing a game and you're slotting swaps and everything, you should always run down a hypothetical where one tribe loses every challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you get to, if one tribe loses every challenge up to this point, then there will only be 2 people left, and that's bad, so we need to have a swap earlier, or something like that.
Right.
In this case, if one tribe had lost both challenges, which happened here, and I'm no mathematician, but I think there's a 50% chance of that happening, all things being considered.
Mm-hmm.
That sets up a draft that guarantees one of the original tribes will be in the minority in both of the new tribes.
Mm-hmm.
And that was problematic. I knew as soon as I saw we're gonna have a draft that things were gonna be rough.
Yeah. So you ended up on the new Slow Beef tribe with Bunny, Sally, yourself, Elgin, Spokes, Toaster, and Jose. Did you just were you just kind of like, well, this is it? Or how did you plan on navigating through that since you were at a 4-3 disadvantage?
Well, I never am like, well, this is it. Even the round where I just went home, it's like I went home. I went home knowing I did everything that I could do.
Which which again, I applaud that, because I feel like that sometimes people are just like, well, it's me. Like, I'm not going to do anything. Um, you went out. You tried everything you could. We're gonna talk more because I have a couple questions for you about that. But when we get to that part, we'll talk more about that. So, what was kind of your goal then? Were you trying to get with the old cheeses, or were you trying to peel off a cheese to join with the original slow beefs?
So when you swap into a suboptimal scenario like I did, the first thing to do is go back to that fundamental rule. This is a social game. And so the first thing I did was I talked to all of the new people,
Mm-hmm.
and to kind of get a sense, like, are you a move maker? Are you here to play? Are you just here to coast? Were you on the outs on the old tribe? Like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And that set the seeds for um, for a lot of future stuff, actually. Because I figured, like, even worst case scenario, none of them want to work with me right now. Well, at least I can make them prefer keeping me over spokes.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I can do that, maybe I can tread water until we merge. And then I can build on these relationships. It's
Yeah.
I said this in my confessional, but the pre-merge is all about giving yourself options for the merge. Because if you think you've set one path, one perfect path through the merge, again, you're gonna get kicked in the dick. It's not gonna work at some point.
Yeah. I
So
I know. Trust me. I I know.
so what I did when talking with people was I liked Sally. Bunny told me I have a connection with Sally, and so I knew, okay, I need to be social with Sally. Because if he already is predisposed to like Bunny, and I can make him like me, then maybe there can be something there.
Mm-hmm.
I reached out to Jose because he was the undrafted person, and that was a very important moment in the game for both of us because he told me, like, I can't save you this round, Haschel. It would look bad to too many other people right now if I'm the one who flips. But I will do everything I can to get the vote on spokes instead of you, and maybe we can do something later.
Mm-hmm.
So that in a bad swap, that's victory right there.
Yeah. I
Um,
agree.
I talked to Brave Little Toaster, who, again, I got the sense, they were content to be in the majority. They weren't looking to set things up for later. They were just gonna ride. And it's like, okay, I can deal with that because now I know I don't need to spend my limited time talking game with you. We can talk about other things, but we're not going to get anywhere game wise.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and yeah, El Generico was the same way. In fact, he flat out said, like, nothing's, you can't do anything to stop this. And I went, oh darn,
Mm-hmm.
knowing full well that I already had.
So we had sorry, hold on, let me pull up Discord real quick.
Mhm.
Sorry. So let's see. Okay, so when it came for the El Generico vote, we had the 3-3 tie, and then we had the revote.
Mhm.
Did that first vote kind of go as you expected, or did that, whatever happened to that, vote, did that like concern you at all? Were you like, oh, let me rephrase this question. Let me ask it a little more succinctly. Excuse me. So when it tied the first time, did
Mhm.
that concern you at all, or were you just like, we just got to stay the course and vote together in the revote?
It concerned me in the sense that I, I remember trying to do math in my head at the time, and it's like, okay, if that was Spokes' vote that got nullified, what does that mean? Was it Sally's vote that got nullified? What does that mean for a revote? And um,
Oh, I hadn't even. That's interesting that you say that because I hadn't even considered that the impact on whose vote got nullified that would have made. That's really interesting. I guess I hadn't thought of that before.
yeah, like the instinct is usually to cancel the vote of the person that you are voting, but I don't know. Every game's different in terms of reward items. Sometimes they carry over to the revote. Sometimes they don't. It's very game dependent.
Hmm.
But yeah, I remember seeing that. It's like, crap, is something up? And then it tied 3-3. That's
Yeah.
like, okay, we are still in this.
Hmm. Yeah,
Uh,
and then you succeeded and got the 3-2, and it was that was a big flip. I mean, it seemed like a surefire that that the slow beefs were just going to get pagonged out by the cheeses, and this was like the first little like fu to the cheese tribe that they had really.
mhm.
Yeah, yeah, it was
And
exciting.
and it also set up the storyline of Taste and Chili's public posts in the thread.
Hmm.
Like, we forgive you, and it's like, no, you guys that stayed the course, good on you, and that kind of solidified a narrative of beef versus cheese.
Hmm.
That even though it fell apart on the end, was set to dominate a lot of that first merge round.
Yeah.
Like, from my perspective, the whole theme of this game has been there are two sides, they clash, and then the next round there are two related but different sides. And there's always been a realignment, whether it's beef versus cheese. Then it became LPers versus non-LPers. Then
Hmm.
it became Taste and his cronies versus everyone else. Then it went back to being beef and cheese.
Yeah.
So, and then, like, even as I was going out, I was heavily pushing the narrative of Taste and his minions versus everyone else. And, is that true? I I think it's I think it should be true where Taste isn't playing optimally. But more importantly, like, I knew even if it wasn't true, I had to make people believe that it could have been.
Yeah.
And
Um.
so that's why, like, I'm probably going to get a lot of criticism from people for telling people this is how things are, and they're like, Haschel doesn't know that things are really this way. And my response is, I don't care. I have reality wasn't working for me, so I
Right.
had to try and shift it.
Yeah. That's the one thing that I told to that's the one thing that I've said to both Blaze and Bunny is that it's very easy for us in the viewer's vista to be like, oh well, this is the optimal play in that situation because we have the macro view. When you're knee deep in it, like you said, reality is can be very different. One thing that we kind of yada yadaed through, and that was my mistake, excuse me, was the auction. Because I thought the auction was pretty interesting.
Yes. And incidentally, this is so I've been bitching about game design a lot. I will plot it here. Um, Even though it worked against me, that whole steal an item thing was masterfully done.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the mix of real things and game related things, it's always good. Usually when I run auctions, I have one item that's a $10 pizza gift card, and no one ever buys it because they're like, oh, that's not game related. I wanna.
Yeah, Sally bought the pizza this time, so that was funny. Last season, the pizza didn't get bought at all.
And but no, that was fun. The the uh, the the letter from home was fantastic. I only bought it because I thought, oh, there's no way they got actual love letters for us. This has to be an idle clue.
Mm-hmm.
And then nope, here's Three Dong Horse writing me a letter. That's fantastic.
Off topic, and I don't think that this is. I feel like that this is appropriate, like conversation. Three Dong Horse has been watching Survivor, like actual seasons of Survivor, and we actually created like their own Discord channel for them to like live post about what they're seeing, and it's been fucking hilarious.
Oh, I want in on that. So, Three Dong Horse, he's another person who played that game with Bunny and I in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
And the two of us, we are in another Discord server. I play D&D with him. He's a very, very good friend.
Yeah,
I've invited him to play a couple Mafia Scum games, and he always gets his ass kicked. But
he has been so it's been so funny to watch kind of his reactions to everything because he's watched. I'm trying to do this off the top of my head. I apologize. So we started him on Token Chains, and he loved like the JT Stevens storyline. Like one of the first things that he posted in there was, "Man, I hope the country guy and the city guy, like, I hope their friendship lasts for a while." And I was like, "Oh yeah, buddy, like, it does." Then he watched Fans versus Favorites 2. And then now he's watching Samoa. But I feel like he's watched something. I feel like that he's watched a fourth season in there too. But yeah, so far it's been Token Chains, Fans vs. Favorites 2, and Samoa.
oh man, I cannot wait to catch up with him now.
Oh yeah, it's the channel's called Survivor Watches, and 87% of the posts I would imagine are by Three Dong Horse. Here, we'll go live in there. Okay, so we're on Samoa. We're at the merge. Ha ha ha. Russell found it again. Russell played it again, and this time, damn, negates the entire Galoo vote. Gonna absolutely die if he finds a third one. Holy fucking shit, he got it again. A tie. Oh lord, Russell's plans. So good. It's been very funny, and under like threat of death, we are from Cena. We are not allowed to spoil anything for them. Because I was like, oh well, you know, the Samoa, the pre merge stuff is a little slow. I said, but like the post merge is like really where it picks up. And Cena was like, Sal.
Quick, I know we're already on a tangent, but I'm gonna tangent even further.
Tangent away.
My favorite moment of spoilers was so I watched a lot of the early seasons live.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went to college and kind of I didn't have time to watch regularly. DVR wasn't a thing yet. And so like I missed a ton of the middle seasons. And then I came back and fuck yeah, I'm back. But anyway, so I watched some old seasons out of order, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I watched Philippines. Like, oh, we've got some players who were medevaced. And one of them, obviously, was Penner, who I had never seen before.
Yeah.
So, finished Philippines, go back, watch, I think, Panama, and then Cook Islands. Here's Penner. It's like, oh, well, I know what happens to him. And so I'm waiting all season for him to get medevaced.
And then it doesn't happen.
And then it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like I was blindsided.
Yeah. That's funny. I could see, like, you're waiting and waiting and waiting for Penner to get medevaced, and then it's just like, oh, wait, what? He doesn't make it? See, I was actually kind of similar to you, kind of time shifted, but I watched the first season and fucking loved it. Like, I was on Survivor Sucks when that, like, I remember over on Sucks when that place first started, that they were like analyzing stills from tribals to figure out, like, and they had figured out that CBS had, like, edited one of the images, because, like, I don't know if you remember, but Gervais puts, like, tape on his shirt in the shape of a duck, and he was like, I'm a sitting duck. So when that tribal happened, somebody on Sucks took, like, a screen cap of it, and then they had taken a screen cap of, like, the preview for that episode, and they realized that somebody had been photoshopped out of like the scene, or so. I can't remember, like, the exact details, but the old like Sucks back in '99 was a really fun place. I don't remember the exact. I could be wrong. This is like 20 some odd years ago, so I could be making that up, but I'm pretty sure that there was some, like, photoshoppery in that tribal council. I'll have to see if I can find anything about it, or if it just is Sal being dumb. But so I watched season 1, and then I joined the military, like, in November of 2000. So either Australia had just started or was getting ready to start, but I didn't watch it.
It was right after the Super Bowl. I remember that.
Yeah, let me see when Australia debuted. Filming dates. Oh, original release, yeah, January 28th to May 3rd, 2001. So yeah, so I was like in the military, and I was in tech school when Australia was airing, and then I didn't watch again for quite a while. I watched the first part of Palau for some reason and just thought it was kind of boring, with Oolong just getting, like, whittled down to nothing. And then all of a sudden, like, I heard about Cook Island, because I don't know if you probably don't know this because you weren't watching then, but, like, that was really controversial when they announced that the tribes were going to be divided by race. And that was really controversial, and they lost some advertisers because of it. But, like, I heard about it, and I was like, oh, that kind of sounds interesting. And so I watched Cook Island, and I, like, fell in love with Yule. Like, Yule is one of my all-time favorite winners.
Yeah,
And
the very first confessional. Yeah, so I see they divided us all by race. I really hope they don't make a big thing out of this, because this could go bad.
But what's interesting, and I didn't think about this until I was listening to. So Rob Sesternino is doing a recap of all 40 seasons of Survivor, ranked from least good to the best. And when he got to Cook Islands, what I hadn't considered was how diverse the cast was, because they had to, because of the way that the initial tribes were made up. And so, that's still the only tribal council that all three members of the final tribal council were like non-white, I guess. And So that actually gives me like a lot of hope for the future seasons of the show because they're going to have the more diverse casting going forward. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Who were the finalists in Fiji?
Oh,
Dreams,
I'm
Earl.
sorry. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I completely misspoke there. Fiji, but a lot of Fiji's casting was because Cook Island or Fiji came after Cook Islands. Excuse me. I completely hadn't misspoken there. But a lot of Fiji's diversity in its cast was because a lot of those, like Yao Man had originally been considered for Cook Islands. Earl had originally been considered for Cook Islands. This was all stuff that, like, when I was listening to Rob has a podcast talk about Fiji, because Fiji has a lot of specialness with me because I emailed Yao Man because he was a college professor, so I just went to his school's website and I just found his college email, and I just sent him an email from my military account. So it was like first name dot last name at airforce.mil or whatever, and he responded, and Yao and I ended up like corresponding almost the entire Fiji season to the point
Wow.
yeah, to the point where I actually bought him an SA account, and then he came into the Fiji thread after the finale and like answered questions in the Fiji thread. So I like Fiji is like this season that I freaking love, and I would never have watched it had I not watched Cook Islands. So anyways, that was like a long tangent and I apologize for that. But yeah, I Fiji and Cook Islands, I think, are two really, really good seasons. Earl and Yule are both winners, and I was so excited when Yule came back for Winners at War. I was like, yes. And he played really. I know this is really off topic, and I'll probably edit some of this out, but I thought Yule played really well in Winners at War, and I think he just sort of got caught up in that like old school versus new school thing. But he positioned himself pretty good in that show. I love Yule. I think Yule is great.
No argument there.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm sorry about that. We will, like I said, I'll edit some of that out. Okay, so we had the auction. Okay, then we had coconut chop or frog chop or whatever you want to call it. Did did anything happen during that challenge that kind of surprised you, or did it pretty much play out as you expected it to?
100% how I expected it to.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have much interesting to say about the challenge itself and how it played out, but it's emblematic of an important part of the game, and that's the me versus taste narrative.
Right.
Obviously, that's a big storyline in this, and with that,
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on a second here. Did we skip a tribal? Okay.
we didn't talk about Sally actually, which
Yes. Oh my gosh, we skipped a whole
oh
bunch.
my
I'm
god,
sorry.
okay, that
Yes.
is not
Holy
what we
shit.
talked about.
Let's like, yeah, we went off on a big tangent. Okay, so let's talk about the first merge tribal council. Let me just tell you a quick thing that happened to me last season because going into this season, I had the mantle of worst dumbest vote ever, and that was like a badge that I didn't really like to wear. And so I appreciate you taking that mantle from me. What happened with your vote for Drake? Because it like really it was really surprising. Like I know that there was like idol fuckery and stuff like that, which can definitely like throw things off. But it was really surprising when it came down like one vote for Drake, five Sally, five Merc.
Yeah, about that. So,
And I'm sorry, by the way, I hope that that wasn't like insulting, but basically we had idol fuckery at one of our tribals and we had a plan going into it, and I totally disregarded the plan and voted the way that I wanted to vote, and a very similar thing happened. So when I saw this, I was kind of laughing to myself and was like, it's not just me.
well, it's not. I don't know if I could call it the dumbest vote because it was the vote I planned to make going into that.
Hmm.
Um, what happened there was Okay, we've got Sally on our side, and that's good. But we are still down numbers.
Hmm.
Um, if Jose goes back to Chili and Taste and Drake and Chaos, like, that's dangerous for
Hmm.
us. So we don't want to target Chili or Taste because they're too high profile. The votes aren't going to be there. So it's like we have to get votes on one of Chaos or Drake.
Hmm.
And I spend most of my day trying to get those votes. And in the end, it's like I think we have them, but I'm not sure.
Hmm.
And if the other side all bands together, there's nothing that we can do about it.
Hmm. Who
So
who else did you think was going to be voting for Drake with you?
I thought it was going to be because we merged at 11, right?
Yep. Yep.
So I thought it was going to be me, Spokes, Merc, Bunny, Sally, and then from there we have to get one more, and I think it can be Blaziken.
Hmm.
And it's like because Jose's told me he's not going to do it, and again he's up front with me, which is why we can continue to work later in the game. But it's like I know all of all of my hopes rest on Blaziken, and a that's not a great position to be in because Blaziken is so
Quiet.
quiet, not really actively involved in planning.
Hmm.
Um, like the best I got was I promise I won't vote Bunny because that was who everybody else the cheese people were talking about voting. So I think, well, that's okay. We still have these 5 votes. Maybe I can make something happen. And so I figure everybody is going in there planning to vote for either Bunny or Sally, right? I give Bunny my immunity necklace. And my thinking here was by giving it away at Tribal Council, the other side doesn't have time to regroup.
Hmm.
And so it's like, if they were planning on voting for Sally anyway, then that's it. I couldn't have done anything anyway. But if they were planning on voting for Bunny, then now they have to ask, with Bunny immune, do I switch to Sally? And there's still the threat of an idol, because I implied, like, my phrasing was, I have to pull out all of the stops here, and I'm starting with this.
Hmm.
So I figured all I have to do is get one person to waver, and then it's a split vote, and we can make something happen.
Hmm.
So, on purpose, not purpose, on paper, that's a solid play. No regrets about making it.
Yeah, I think when you explain it that way, I think that your vote makes a ton of sense.
And, and this is important for later, I had told Spokes the night before that I was thinking of giving the idol to Sally, or the necklace to Sally. So Spokes should have known that something was on the table there.
Hmm.
Now, Spokes was planning to vote Drake, but he forgot all about that conversation, and so when he sees me give the necklace to Bunny, he assumes I have some master plan that he's not part of, and he panics and he switches to voting for Merc.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, everybody else has decided to vote for Sally and not tell me about it. So, when it came out 5-5-1, I was furious.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think you all could see. So, me, Bunny, and Spokes are in our chat. Asteroids, I think. Talking about what the hell happened. And Spokes says, "Oh, I voted Sally because I was scared something was going on." Bunny sends me a private message like, "Man, I'm so fucking mad at Spokes right now." And I had to fight. Look, to be honest, I'm pissed at both of you because you didn't tell me you were voting for Mark.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, I guess I didn't.
I I sort of feel like that was sort of emblematic of like a lot of your merge experience was like people leaving out. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Disregard. Never mind. I felt like in my experience last game, we Spokes was voted himself out because he was not given like complete the complete scheme of what his group was trying to do. And I sort of feel like that in this first vote that there was sides, and then you were like, okay, let's do this, and then everyone was like, yeah, let's do that, and then when it came time to do that, everyone's like, we're just gonna do this something else. So I felt bad for you in this vote.
Yeah, that was, and I was, um, I had to tell people like, look, later tonight I will be fine. For the next hour or so, I'm gonna be yelling because what the fuck, people.
Hmm.
And people were understanding.
Yeah.
um, that was not a great round for me, but you can't. There's no point in dwelling on it. So when it happened, my reaction was, "Where do I go now?" It's
Hmm.
like, okay, so the split is no longer beef versus cheese. What is the new split, and how can I maneuver that to my advantage?
Hmm. And I think it was around this time when Spy vs. Spy got created. Is that correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And the intent with Spy vs. Spy was never an alliance per se. We just thought it would be more fun for the specs to be able to see our private messages.
Oh, okay.
So, like, Chili and Taste were interesting to deal with at the merge. Um, and I think I mentioned my confessional. Chili was saying all the right things. He was honest about where we were, honest about where we could go, and he said these things in a way that made me feel he was sincere about it.
Hmm.
Taste was. He thought he was saying the right things, but he was saying them in exactly the wrong way. And so, because of that, I knew it's like I can possibly work with Chili in the future. I don't think Taste and I are ever truly going to be on the same side on anything.
Hmm.
So that's and that's another example of how social game can set the agenda rounds way in advance of
Yeah.
when anything pays off.
Yeah.
But so anyway, so like I said, I have to identify the new split, and that's the LP alliance versus everybody else. And at this point, I want to lay low. I'm obviously like, if people want to do a consensus vote, well, here's the guy that didn't vote with anybody last round, right?
Hmm.
So I kind of play up the, oh, woe is me, like I've got nobody. Can I please be with you?
Hmm.
Because I don't want people to think that if people think, oh, Haschel's mad at me because I burned him, I'd better get him out before he gets me. That that doesn't help me. I don't need that. So that kind of shifted how I had to play at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so with the next vote, the bunny vote, Spokes and I are talking. It's like, there is an LP alliance, and Bunny admits it to me after I confront him about it. Like, yeah, people are telling me there's this Let's Play alliance. That's crazy, right? Oh, yeah, that's a real thing. So, learning that, it's like, okay, well, if the cheese people, or if if the people who voted Sally last round are looking at the Let's Play alliance, then they're not looking at me. So let's play them off of each other.
Yeah.
And that, in from my perspective, is why Bunny went home.
Did it at all like make you mad that they didn't feel that the LPers didn't feel the need to kind of like clue you in or bring you in? Because from an outside perspective, I feel like that was like a natural fit.
Well, Bunny, to his credit, tried. In fact, I think there was a channel dedicated to it.
Hold on, let me consult.
Well,
I closed my master list. Hold on here. Maybe I just didn't mark it down. I don't know. I mean,
don't worry about the specific name.
yeah, yeah, that's
The
fine.
the point was, Bunny brought me in to a group with him, Blaziken, Chaos, and Drake, right?
Mm-hmm.
The problem was, well, there were multiple problems. One, it happened so late. Like, the existence of this is something that I really could have used knowing about last round, when I'm trying to convince Bunny to vote for one of Chaos or Drake. Like, if he had just told me, no, I'm trying to get a thing set up between them and us, it's like, okay, cool, I can work with that. Instead, I get caught with my pants down at the vote, and now Drake doesn't trust me because I voted for her. And I'm talking with Chaos, and he's saying things like, oh yeah, we can work together. And then I immediately hear that he's floating my name.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, I kind of knew, yeah, this LP alliance, it would have been great if I could have gotten here early, but it's too late. Like, they will never truly trust me, and I can't trust them.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense. So Bunny went out, and then Blaziken went out after
Yeah.
that, and then that was sorry. So then now we're at the coconut chop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then as we've already discussed, coconut chop pretty much went the way you expected.
Yes.
And then when you started, so when the votes were being read out and you started seeing your name, were you just like, okay, well, this is probably my time, or were you pretty convinced that Blaziken was going?
I was pretty convinced that Blaziken was going. Like, I I didn't expect the margin to be as high as it was. Or wait, no, that was a different vote that surprised me. I need to think now.
You're fine.
Blaziken was F9, right?
Yes, it was 6-3.
Okay, yes, that did surprise me. I was expecting a 5-4.
Mm-hmm.
So, Coconut Chop kind of highlighted the me and taste never being on the same side. And honestly, I think it can be useful in these games to have a player like that.
Hmm.
That is opposed to you. Everybody knows the two of you are opposed. Um, and you don't have to pretend that you're working with the other one.
Yeah.
Because it provides a sense of scaffolding to the game.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, it makes
and
total sense.
and it's like it's obviously a risk. It didn't pay off for me in the long run this time, but it gives you a framework that you can set everything else up relative to. So I didn't mind taste going for me, or vice versa. And in fact, it allowed me to kind of push the narrative of, oh, there's Taste and his minions versus everyone else. Let's take out one of the minions.
Hmm.
Uh, so no regrets there.
Yeah. Um, and then we had speed questions in which you won immunity. That must have felt that must have felt good.
Uh, it would have been felt. It would have felt better if I had actually earned it. They just fucked up. I I,
Oh,
I didn't answer a single question first.
hold on. Am I getting my? Oh no, Merc was coconut chop. You were speed questions. Oh,
Mhm.
so did the so I guess I didn't realize that. So every time your opponent just answered wrong every single time.
Yeah, like I still posted correct answers, but my opponents posted wrong answers first.
Oh, okay. I guess I didn't. I guess I didn't realize that was like a little narrative that was going on during speed questions.
But yeah, I'm winning that was it felt very good. And here's this is the round that I really get frustrated with people.
Hmm.
Um, because everybody's concerned, oh, Spokes has this double vote, right?
Hmm.
Now, I have since been informed that he used it on the bunny vote, and it wasn't around anymore. Which, he should have said that for several reasons. I will yell at him later. But no one in the game knows this. All they know is he has a double vote.
For what it's worth, I for what it's worth, I said the exact same thing in Viewers Vista. I was like, why is Spokes lying to Haschel about this double vote? Like I
Yeah,
said this. I said the same thing. I was like, wait, if Haschel is relying on this double vote for
and
this,
I'm telling him, like, this is our plan. We will use the double vote here.
yeah, yeah. For what it's worth, I said the exact same thing in the Viewers Vista. I was like, I don't understand Spokes' play here. Damn it! Oh fuck! I wish I would have asked him about this last night. God damn it! Hold on, let me
But
make note to self here. Whatever, I'll do it later. Anyways, so this vote came out. So you were safe. Cheers all around. Probably the most relaxing tribal council you ever had.
mhm.
And then your like the person you were working with, Spokes, got voted out. Were you like? Did you think you had the votes for Drake? And like, what do you think
Yes.
happened at that tribal?
What happened is everybody lied to me yet again. Um, Everybody kept talking about they're still worried about LP people are going to get a ton of votes from the jury. Now, an aside there, that's a stupid way to think. Like, you can't be oh, this person's popular, let's get them out at F8. Like, that's... I've got opinions there. But anyway, it doesn't matter if I think that. Everybody else clearly does, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, fine. We will get rid of Drake here. And the reason I want Drake instead of Chaos is similar to the reason I had wanted Brave Little Toaster out over Jose. Chaos, at least, is, from my perspective, was kind of playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Drake struck me as just coasting.
Mm-hmm.
And I would much... If somebody's coasting, they'd better be coasting with me, because otherwise I don't like that at all.
Uh-huh.
And everybody else has seemed, like, concerned about the LP threat. So it's like, okay, this will be easy. We just had a working majority last round get rid of Blaziken. We've all shown that we can work together and trust each other. Nothing weird should happen now. And then, haha, fuck you, Haschel. So...
Excuse me, give me just a second here.
Alright.
Sorry, I've been sitting down all day and was getting a little antsy there. So yeah, it's tough because I think that usually I feel like the person who has immunity has, like, usually I feel like that person has some sort of control, or, like, at least a say-so in typically who goes home. And I was a little surprised that the vote ended up kind of shaking out the way it was. And like you said, it was once again a time where, you thought you had all the votes, and then, oh no, as you found out, everybody was just lying to you instead.
And it's like, if people are worried about Spokes and his double idol, like, or his double vote, I mean, putting aside the fact he didn't have it, I do not understand people who hear player X has an advantage and instantly go to, I need to get rid of that advantage, instead of, I need to make sure this advantage is played in a way that helps me.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that everybody thought it was so important to get rid of this double vote that they'll blindside somebody who's working with them to do it. Two somebodies, actually. Like, that was a bizarre move. And honestly, I don't know what final tribal council format is in terms of questioning. But if I have time, that is something I would like the finalists to justify.
Yeah. Last season, basically, the way that worked is every jury member got to ask a question. You could ask 3 different questions of the 3 different players at the end. You could ask one question for everybody. You could just make a statement and just say, I don't have any questions. So it's pretty open to the jurors.
Okay, but it's basically one post.
Yes. Yeah. Cena, and again, I'm just going off of how things went last season. Last season, after all the jurors got to ask a question, if there was any clarification, or if the jurors didn't feel like that one of us answered the question, they could then ask us for clarification, or ask us further questions about our answers. So it's run in a pretty organized fashion.
Okay. For the record, I already know what my last question will be. And I know how I will determine my vote.
Yeah. When I played Awful Big Brother, I was on the jury, And my jury question was, I pretty much knew exactly what my question was going to be. And I told the final four, I said, here's my question. This is what I'm asking. I'm telling you in advance because I want fucking good answers. And if you guys half-ass this when I've given you the opportunity, when I've told you this is what I'm going to answer, if you can't answer everything, I'm going to be pissed. And surprise, surprise, the person I voted for was the one who actually went through and answered everything. And the other guy was like, I know you told us what the answer was going to be, but I kind of, was like, meh.
Quick, funny derail. The last anonymous game I played, the theme was called Barely Survivor, and the joke was like, it was a mishmash of a bunch of mismatched things. Like, instead of one theme, there was like the celebrities tribe, the food tribe, the Star Wars tribe, the miscellaneous tribe.
Mm-hmm.
And so my character was, I signed up as Dave Thomas, founder of Wendy's.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my username, Dave Thomas, founder of Wendy's. And through the entire game, whenever people called me Dave, I would be like, oh, please, Dave is my father. My name is Dave Thomas, founder of Wendy's. And so we get to Final Tribal Council, and I tell him, okay, like, I've got some real questions that will affect my vote, but if any of you call me anything other than Dave Thomas, founder of Wendy's, I will not vote for you no matter what. And one guy, his very last closing speech, he called me Dave in one paragraph. It's like, sorry.
I told you. Yeah. I don't know if are you familiar with David Bloomberg at all?
The name sounds familiar.
He's a Survivor podcaster, and he does a podcast called Why Blank Lost. And he has these rules for Survivor, and of course I can't think of them off the top of my head, but they're like, scheme and plot, don't scheme and plot too much. Hold on a second. So scheme and plot, don't scheme and plot too much, be flexible, don't let your emotions control you, pretend to be nice, and keep your politics and controversial beliefs to yourself. Don't be too much of a threat. Vote out the weak, then the strong, then the weak, and then the strong. And like, basically my question was going to be, tell me how you did all 7 of these. And so the person I voted for, not only did they go through all 7 of those, but they also, there's 2 like appendix questions where it was like jury management and advantages. And he answered like the appendix questions that I didn't even answer, or that I didn't even ask. And I was like, you got my vote, buddy. So yeah, I totally can understand that.
I'll tell you what my rubric is going to be at the end of this. But for now, I think we're on the fun round.
Yeah. So I kind of asked you about it in Tribal, and obviously I understand that in Tribal you couldn't really, you probably didn't really feel compelled to say like everything that you wanted to say. But here's my question for you. Mm-hmm. Why didn't you make one last like public, like, I'm voting for Taste, this is where my vote is going, if you guys, or my vote's going to Drake, like, why didn't you publicly like say, this is who I'm voting for, if you guys want to come with me, if not, I understand, or whatever. I guess that was my one kind of, I had actually like considered asking you, like, Haschel, do you have anything else to say? But I didn't want to be, but it was,
that's putting your thumb on the scale.
Yeah, that was like, I actually had the question typed out and I read it and I was like, Jesus, am I hammering this too hard? But I guess that would be one of my big questions is like, why didn't you make one last like, oh, I'm voting this person.
That's a fair question, and I did consider it. I considered like drafting up a whole speech and posting it. And in the end, I didn't, because ultimately tonight's vote came down to what Chile wanted to do.
Hmm.
And a speech would have absolutely turned Chile off at this point.
Hmm.
Um, I had a lot of what I think are logical reasons why I shouldn't have been voted out.
By the way, I really want you to use this. Like, I would love for you to use this time to like go as deep in, because I know I just know from like an outside perspective that you did a lot over the last 36 hours or so. And so, I mean, I would be interested. I know that we're talking about kind of tribal now, but I would even be interested in like, I know that you had the room with Drake and Chaos.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you pitched really hard with Chili. And I would just sort of like to hear, kind of, okay, so I lost immunity in a very close immunity challenge. Like, what was your yeah, I'd just like to hear about like your view on the last 36 hours or so. And I'm sorry to kind of jump around a little bit. Usually I try to keep these a little more like
Oh, that's
chronological.
that's that's fine. So this goes back to me getting completely blindsided and seeing Spokes go home. At this point, everybody in the game has lied to me twice.
Hmm.
Whatever plans people are making, I am obviously not very high priority on them. So, if I do nothing, then sure, maybe I can get Drake out or Chaos out. But then, where do I go from there?
Hmm.
Ponderosa's where I go from there.
Yeah.
It's obvious that, because when you vote with somebody, that forms a connection, and
Yeah.
it may not be the biggest connection, but it's a connection,
Yeah.
and everybody just made a connection with each other, voting out Spokes.
Hmm.
So the status quo, as it stood, was unacceptable to me,
Yeah.
and so I mentioned in my confessional the difference between going home at F7 and F6. F6 is where the truly most irrelevant player goes home. F7 is the last time for big moves.
Yeah.
And
I when you said that at Tribal tonight, I was like, yeah, looking back at like the game last season, like F7 was really the last time where the other side had a chance to kind of flip the script. And so yeah, so I was 100% with you where it's like, okay, well, at final six, if there's a foursome, like you're gone at six and you're gone at five. And I thought your pitch to Drake and to Chaos was well reasoned out. And so I liked a lot of what you were going for there.
yeah, the so I try to force a vote on taste, and it doesn't work, obviously. But the fact that it didn't work should be raising questions among a whole bunch of other people.
Mm.
Like Chaos and Drake should be asking themselves, why is Chili not willing to vote for taste?
I look at it like when you play Mafia and there's a person that is continuously like, oh, this person is scum. and but you can just never vote them out, and it's like, oh my gosh, like why is this person so hard to vote out? And it's like, oh right, because they have their scum bros behind them making sure that they don't.
Hmm. Yeah, that's exactly how it was like. Because, like, my goal, like I said earlier, this game has always kind of had a theme of two sides and then realignment.
Hmm.
And so I tried to realign it in a way that worked for me. And that involved not just telling my side, big air quotes there, that we needed to vote for Taste, but I went to Chaos and Drake and Taste individually and said, hey, congratulations, you've made an F3 that is unstoppable. Like, I was building up the the importance of them sticking together
Hmm.
because um, if my side didn't believe that was a thing, I needed to try and make it into a thing.
Yeah,
And
I totally
that's,
understand.
it's like once I went down the road I chose to go down. Um, there weren't a ton of options, but I did my best to do everything I could on that path.
I
And
I thought everything you did was, I thought you had well reasoned arguments. After the game is over, if you want to talk again, because like I've made the offer to everybody, like after the game is over and after you know everything and after we can talk a little more freely. I do have some small critiques. Um,
yeah, that's fine. Like, it's like I'm I have experience, but I'm not like master survivor player
yeah,
Cedricson.
yeah. Um, well,
And and in a new group, a new meta, it's like I didn't expect to win. There's just every new community has a learning curve to it,
yeah.
and
I do have a question from the viewers for you.
sure.
I think that you have kind of talked about it a little bit, but this might give you a chance to like kind of say your piece. What, in retrospect, do you think was your biggest mistake, and what was your best move?
Ooh, biggest mistake. Well, the biggest mistake was probably not doing enough with Bunny to learn about the LP Alliance beforehand.
Hmm.
If I had known that he was never going to target Drake or Chaos, that would have saved me a lot of time and energy that could have gone somewhere more productive.
Hmm.
And then Merc goes home, and it's a 100% different ballgame.
Yeah. Somebody else asked me. Oh, I think you kind of discussed this. What your jury philosophy is. I don't know if they mean like what is your like what do you look for as a juror. I'm not sorry, I probably shouldn't have said anything.
No, that's fine because that's something I wanted to talk about anyway.
Yeah, and you kind of talked about it a little bit, but so basically, you kind of what do you look for? Because like my personal belief is that I think that the jury picks a winner that they want to be most emblematic of their season. So like in Samoa, they didn't want Russell to be emblematic of Samoa, so they voted for Natalie. In in Winners at War, they wanted somebody who was like really took the game in their hands and did everything to, take control of the game. So they voted for Tony. So like, how do you like? What is your jury philosophy then?
Okay. Well, and I believe in something that I refer to it as the survivor triangle. And everyone on Mafia Scum makes fun of me for this because they don't think it's a real thing, but it is. And these games have three parts to them. They are your social game, your strategic game, and your structural game. And all three are equally important. Over on MS, there's a big tendency to disrespect the structural side of things, which I disagree with fundamentally.
What do you mean by this? So, can you kind of explain the structural side?
Well, yeah, I'll explain all of them.
Okay, great.
Social game. Do people like you? Can you convince them to work with you? Can you convince them to vote your way? That's your social game. Strategic game. Can you see the moves that help you? Can you do short-term plans and long-term plans? Does every move you make advance your game somehow?
Mm-hmm.
And finally, structural is social and strategic come from the players. Structural is everything else. So, it's challenges, it's using reward items effectively, it's navigating swaps, it's the format of Discord itself. Like, are you using alliance chats to your advantage?
Mm-hmm.
Are you getting on voice calls with people to connect with them because that's an available tool? Structural is basically every aspect of the game that doesn't come from the players. It's not just enough to say this is why I deserve to win a Survivor game. This is why I deserve to win Awful Survivor Let's Play, the game that the production team designed.
Okay, that makes sense. That's interesting. I guess I hadn't. Yeah, I always think that this kind of stuff is interesting.
And so when I'm on a jury, it's very simple. Social, strategic, structural. You have to convince me you were the best at two of those, and I don't care which two they are. Because I want to award a balanced game. If everybody loves you, but you don't do anything, and you coast through all the challenges, that's not enough for me to get the vote. If all you do is you go on an immunity run, that's impressive. You don't necessarily deserve to win. If you play everybody like a fiddle, but everyone hates your guts, and that's also not a winning game for me.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta do two of those. Your choice.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I'm trying to think if you would have voted for me last season.
I can say, like, I've been on a lot of juries, and I have voted for very, very different games to win it all.
Hmm.
So, yeah, for me personally, Final Tribal Council is important in determining who I vote for.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think I think that especially depending on who's in the final three, that it could potentially be live when when it gets there. So I'm excited to see how the final three or the final two or three, however it shakes out.
Too late.
I mean, I don't think that saying its final three to the jury is like I wouldn't say it to like a in-game player. I mean it has no strategic value to you one way or the other. So,
Right.
do you have anything that we have? Because I know we talked for a while, and I seriously like appreciate you giving me so much time for this. Like it's incredible. Thank you. Is there anything that we haven't discussed? Any like I said, I've tried to. Usually, I do a little prep for these before I do them, so I apologize that this one wasn't as like chronological as it could have been. But is there anything that we haven't talked about that you were like, I definitely want to discuss this?
Um, I don't think so. Um, I'm I'm content with how I went home. I wish I could have made it further, but like I said, F7 is not a bad spot to go.
No.
And ultimately, I had a ton of fun. Um, Spokes, it turns out we actually knew each other kind of. We're both in a invite-only trivia league together.
Interesting.
And, like, I recognized his username on that site when he mentioned it to me.
Oh, that's interesting. I played with Spokes last season, and Spokes was like the only person that I didn't really talk to very much. But when Spokes and I talked last night, I had so much fun talking to him, and he was really interesting person to talk to, as were you and Blaze and Bunny. I haven't talked to Sally yet. Unfortunately, Sally and I both have the same problem where we have 2-year-olds. In Sally's case, he's got two of them. And so it just has been impossible to make our schedules align. But I desperately hope to one day get like some time to talk to Sally. Again, Haschel, I really appreciate you playing. You were so much fun to watch. This is the first season of Awful Survivor that I've really followed closely, and I've really enjoyed a lot of the post merge. I've enjoyed this game a lot. So, and it's a credit to the players who have busted their ass for the last almost month now. Making it entertaining for us, so the viewers appreciate it. So
yeah, my true goal in these games is I never want production to regret casting me.
I don't think you have to worry. I don't think you have to worry about that because you know I want to be careful how I phrase this. And you kind of said it, like some of the players that went out like pre-merge were quieter players, and the fact that it would have been so easy in your situation over the last couple days. It would have been so easy in your situation to just be like, well, nothing I can do. Like I'm just gonna I'm gonna try. I'm going to poke a little bit. If it doesn't work, then I'm just going to, head on out to the jury. And the fact that up until the vote started, up until Tribal started, you were still like, hey, like, let's talk. Okay. And the fact that 2 votes went the way that you wanted them to, your vote and somebody else's vote, obviously that probably felt good. What's that?
You can say Jose's vote.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you...
No, you probably can't actually say that, but I know it.
The theoretical Jose vote. I mean, that had to feel good that you at least made a connection with one other person that they were willing to, be like, all right, well, fuck it, let's do this.
Absolutely. And it's like I know, like I said, my game isn't perfect. I'm sure I've said things in my confessional that have had people be like, "Oh, this guy's arrogant as hell," and I confessionals kind of demand a certain amount of tone to them.
I agree. I agree. Uh, that's one thing confessional wise that was really important to me was that I kind of temper what I'm, that like I say what I mean, but I don't say it meanly. I don't know if that I don't know if that makes sense because ego searching your name after these games are over and seeing and reading people calling you like a dumb fuck in their confessional, it's like, ooh, that's a little
Yeah,
feel bad.
yeah. Like I said, I've done enough of these that it doesn't faze me as much. But yeah, it's a delicate balance between being tactful and telling the viewers what's really going on.
Yeah. Yeah, we I mean, the more information that we can get, the better. Like
Mm.
if I had my way, and I don't know feasibly how you would be able to do this without just having like a billion chat rooms. I would just have every person that wanted to talk to another person one on one just create a room. Because I feel like that a lot of times there's a lot of stuff that we missed out on because
So
we're just not privy to a lot of the one
the
on one comms.
the last non-anonymous game on Mafia Scum was played mostly over Discord, and there was a rule where if you made a group chat with people, and you were encouraged to invite a bot that would log the conversation
Hmm.
and send it to the production crew. And people used that with their one-on-ones as well. And so
Interesting.
then, then production could read through and like find the juicy bits and share them with the viewers.
Interesting. I'll have to talk to Cena about that because, like I said, I feel like a lot of the one-on-one conversations, there was like sometimes things happened that didn't necessarily make sense, and it was like, oh, well, this probably happened in a one-on-one conversation that we're just not privy to.
Yeah, I tried to copy paste the interesting ones.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciated that. You didn't do what I did, which was accidentally paste one of those into your tribe chat. So that's always fun. And also, just for my own, I'll cut this part out. Let's say goodbye, and then I've got a question for you.
Sure.
So Haschel, thank you so much for sitting down. After the game is over and after you know everything, know how all the votes went, etc. If you would like to talk more, I've offered everybody the opportunity. If you want to talk more, awesome, because you have a lot of great insights. You have a what I like about you is that you have like, this is how I view the game, and you played the way that you feel, and I think sometimes that can be hard for people, but I thought you walked the walk and you talked the talk, so I appreciate you, and I'm glad that you played this game.
Thank you. I appreciate hearing that. And yeah, it's been a blast. Thank you very much for having me on your post game show.
Before we go, do you have anything that you want to plug, like Twitter, like uh Spokes pimped his book, Bunny pimped their Let's Play? Do you have anything that you want to promote to the tens of people that will watch this?
DaisyRainGarden.com. Those are the flower pots my family and I sell.
Oh,
And
yes. You're
and
the pot dealer.
my parents get excited when they see the website hit go up. So if they suddenly got 10 views, it would make it look like I'm doing work and not playing Internet Survivor.
Will you send me the link to that so that I can put it in the show description?
Sure.
Thank you. All right. Well, Haschel, have a fantastic evening. Thank you so much again for sitting down with me. And yeah, I look forward to talking to you again.
Have a good night.
You too.